The screech of twisting metal echoed through the rainy afternoon, and for a few terrifying seconds, the world seemed to stop breathing. A luxury black sedan spun across the intersection before crashing into a broken streetlight, its windows shattered and its front crushed beyond recognition. People rushed toward the wreckage, some recording with their phones, others shouting for help. Inside the expensive car lay one of the richest men in the city, billionaire Adrian Sterling. Though blood trickled from a cut on his forehead, he slowly realized he was conscious. His body hurt, but he could move. Then, through half-open eyes, he made a strange decision. He remained perfectly still, pretending to be unconscious. He wanted to know who people truly were when they believed a powerful man could neither reward nor punish them. What happened over the next hour would change not only his life but also the future of a struggling black single father who had almost given up on believing that goodness still mattered. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still has the power to change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that remind us what humanity looks like at its best. Adrian Sterling had spent decades building one of the country's largest technology companies. Newspapers described him as brilliant, disciplined, and fearless. Investors admired his decisions, competitors feared his influence, and employees respected his intelligence. Yet very few people actually knew him. Success had surrounded him with polished boardrooms, expensive suits, private jets, and carefully rehearsed conversations. Every smile seemed connected to business. Every compliment seemed to carry a hidden request. Somewhere along the way, Adrian had begun wondering if genuine kindness even existed anymore. His fortune gave him everything money could buy, but it quietly stole the simple ability to know who cared without expecting something in return. The accident happened on one of the poorest sides of the city, far from the glass towers where Adrian usually spent his days. Rain soaked the cracked sidewalks, old apartment buildings leaned with age, and many families struggled to pay for groceries, rent, or electricity. While emergency services had been called, traffic congestion delayed their arrival. Curious crowds gathered around the expensive vehicle. Some whispered about the luxury brand. Others guessed the driver's identity. A few secretly hoped they might discover valuable items inside the car. Adrian listened carefully without opening his eyes. Then another voice entered the scene. Marcus Hill was hurrying home after finishing a double shift at a warehouse. His clothes were wet from the rain, his boots were worn down, and exhaustion covered his face. In one hand, he carried a small grocery bag containing bread, milk, and a few vegetables. Every dollar mattered. Since his wife had passed away from cancer 4 years earlier, Marcus had raised his 8-year-old daughter, Naomi, completely alone. Every morning he prepared breakfast before sunrise, walked Naomi to school, worked long hours lifting heavy boxes, and somehow still found the strength to help with homework every evening. Life had become a constant balancing act between grief, responsibility, and hope. The moment Marcus saw the wrecked vehicle, he dropped his grocery bag without hesitation. Vegetables rolled across the wet pavement as he pushed through the crowd. He ignored the expensive watch on Adrian's wrist, ignored the designer wallet partially visible beneath the seat, and ignored people telling him to wait for professionals. Instead, he knelt beside the injured stranger, carefully checking whether he was breathing. Adrian remained perfectly still. Marcus gently removed broken glass around the driver's seat so emergency workers would have easier access when they arrived. Then he quietly spoke, not realizing the unconscious billionaire could hear every single word. Marcus said that whoever this man was, someone somewhere loved him and was praying for him. He hoped the injured stranger had children waiting at home because children should never lose a parent if there was still hope. He whispered that money could replace a car but never a human life. Then he looked toward the cloudy sky and prayed that God would spare the stranger, even if it meant another difficult day for himself. Those words struck Adrian harder than the collision itself. No one had prayed for him in years. As rain continued falling, Marcus removed his own jacket and covered the injured man to keep him warm. It was the only jacket he owned suitable for work. Without it, tomorrow's shift would be freezing. Yet he never hesitated. Several bystanders questioned why he cared so much about a rich stranger driving an expensive car while families in the neighborhood struggled every day. Marcus simply answered that compassion should never depend on someone's bank account. A person's life was always worth saving. Adrian felt something deep inside him begin to crack. For years he had believed generosity came from abundance. Marcus proved it often came from sacrifice. When paramedics finally arrived, Marcus stayed until Adrian was safely loaded into the ambulance. One paramedic thanked him for stabilizing the scene and explained that his quick actions may have prevented additional injuries. Marcus smiled with relief before remembering the groceries scattered across the road. Most had been ruined by rain or crushed by passing vehicles. He quietly gathered what remained and walked home. That evening Naomi noticed her father had returned without his jacket. Marcus laughed softly and claimed someone else needed it more. Naomi had heard that answer many times before. The next morning Adrian awoke in a private hospital room with only minor injuries. Doctors considered him extremely fortunate. His board members flooded his phone with messages, lawyers worried about liability, and reporters demanded statements. Adrian ignored them all. He could think only about Marcus. Using security footage and witness accounts, Adrian located the man within 24 hours. Instead of inviting Marcus to his corporate headquarters, Adrian decided to visit him personally. Marcus lived in a tiny apartment where paint peeled from the walls and furniture had clearly survived many difficult years. Naomi proudly opened the door after school, surprised to see several black SUVs parked outside. Adrian stood quietly holding the same jacket Marcus had placed over him after the accident. It had been cleaned and carefully folded. Marcus looked shocked. He immediately apologized for entering the damaged car, worried he had done something wrong. Adrian simply handed him the jacket. For several long moments neither man spoke. Finally, Adrian admitted that he had been conscious during the rescue. Marcus seemed confused rather than offended. Adrian explained why he pretended to be unconscious. Years of wealth had left him uncertain whether kindness without personal benefit still existed. Marcus listened silently. Then Adrian confessed that one sentence refused to leave his mind. Someone somewhere loves him. Those simple words had reminded him that despite all his success, he had neglected relationships that truly mattered. He had spent years chasing larger profits while slowly losing contact with his younger brother, missing birthdays, skipping family dinners, and convincing himself there would always be more time. Marcus quietly replied that life had a painful way of reminding people what mattered most. The apartment suddenly felt smaller as grief filled the room. Marcus shared the story of losing his wife. During her final days she had repeatedly asked him to stay kind no matter how unfair life became. She believed bitterness spread suffering while kindness multiplied hope. After she passed away, Marcus decided that every act of compassion honored her memory. Adrian struggled to hold back tears. He had attended leadership seminars, investment conferences, and exclusive charity galas across the world, yet none had taught him a lesson as powerful as the one spoken inside that modest apartment. Weeks passed, and Adrian quietly investigated Marcus's life without making headlines. He discovered a father who never missed parent-teacher meetings despite exhausting work schedules. He found neighbors describing Marcus as the first person to shovel snow for elderly residents and the last person to accept help for himself. He learned Marcus often skipped meals so Naomi could enjoy healthy food. Every sacrifice remained invisible because Marcus never sought recognition. Adrian finally understood that true greatness rarely appeared on magazine covers. It appeared in ordinary people making extraordinary choices when nobody was watching. Instead of simply writing a check, Adrian designed something much bigger. He offered Marcus a management position within one of his community development foundations, believing someone with genuine compassion should help direct programs serving struggling families. Marcus hesitated, afraid he lacked education and experience. Adrian smiled and explained that technical skills could be taught, but integrity could not. Marcus accepted. Over the following year, neighborhoods once ignored by wealthy investors began receiving after-school centers, affordable childcare programs, food partnerships, and job training opportunities. Marcus insisted every project focus on dignity rather than charity. Families should never feel ashamed for needing temporary help. The programs flourished. Employees noticed Adrian changing as well. He spent more time listening than speaking. Executive meetings became shorter while community visits became more frequent. He reconnected with his estranged brother, attended family gatherings, and established company policies supporting employees caring for sick relatives. Profit remained important, but people finally mattered just as much. One afternoon Adrian visited the same intersection where the accident had occurred. The damaged streetlight had long been replaced. Children laughed in a nearby park funded through the foundation Marcus now directed. Naomi ran across the playground, healthier and happier than ever, carrying books she dreamed of using one day to become a doctor. Marcus watched proudly from a nearby bench. Adrian realized the greatest investment he had ever made was not in technology, real estate, or international markets. It was choosing to trust the goodness he had almost stopped believing existed. Sometimes life changes not because of grand speeches or impossible miracles but because one exhausted father kneels beside a stranger, offers his only jacket, and whispers a prayer expecting nothing in return. If this story has touched your heart so far, please write, "Kindness always comes back," in the comments below. Your words may encourage someone who desperately needs hope today. Years later, journalists often asked Adrian what moment truly transformed his life. They expected stories about billion-dollar deals or groundbreaking inventions. Instead, he always remembered a rainy afternoon when a man with almost nothing gave everything he could to save someone he believed would never know his name. That act of selfless compassion reminded him that wealth measures comfort, but character measures legacy. Long after expensive cars rust away and fortunes change hands, people remember how someone made them feel in their darkest moment. Marcus never became famous, and he never wanted to. Yet his quiet decision to choose kindness over convenience reshaped countless lives, proving that ordinary people carry extraordinary power. In the end, the billionaire believed he had survived the accident because fate wanted him to witness a truth far greater than success. The richest hearts are often found in the humblest homes, and the smallest acts of love can echo across generations.